Hey, Facebook world. This is Rich Fontaine with another episode of Daily Motivation 365 Days of Consistency, doing the things over and over and over and over and over again until they become habit. And that's how we become better. They say the father of learning is repetition. Repetition is the father of learning. Hey, Miriam. Thank you for watching. Hey, Jazz. And what's up to everyone that has the time? Maribel, hey, thank you for watching. If you have the time to watch this live, I appreciate it. And if you watch this later in the day, I also appreciate it. Taking your time. So, I want to talk to you about me. Get to know me a little bit more. How I shifted. I know people that knew me from my olden days probably know me from being a little bit different. Being a little bit different. I was a little more rough around the edges. Got myself into troubles, fist fights, hanging with people that all we did was just smoke weed all day and hang out and doing nothing productive. Actually, probably being doing bad things than good. And I was making life worse for myself and others than I was making it better. And what happened was I was forced. Life happens to you, man. I was forced quarantined, like many of us today, but it was by a court order where I was on probation and I couldn't drive because my license was suspended. And so I was living with my sister, and the only places I could go was work and home. And I moved in with my sister because I wanted to get an internship, which wasn't really paying, but it was just a foot in the door. And so I spent a lot of time alone. I was living with my sister. She lived in Claremont, Florida, and most of my friends were in Orlando and Oviedo. And, I was like, hey, man, you want to come down to Claremont? They're like, I ain't going to Claremont. I ain't driving that far, man, just to see you, because I couldn't drive, right? So I had to spend a lot of time alone and reflective, which was the most scariest thing for me because I didn't like being alone because I didn't like being alone with my thoughts. My thoughts were negative about me, about life, about the world. And so I used to always surround myself with people because I didn't like being alone. I didn't like being by myself. But I realized not being by myself, I didn't know me. I really didn't know me. I'm in a body, I'm in a vessel, and I don't even know who I am. I don't know what I like. I don't know what I'm about. I don't know what my future holds. I don't know anything. I'm just going through the motions. And that forced me to sit down and ask myself the real tough questions, which was hard at first. It was really hard at first to face your own demons. But only in your own reflection can you see the truth. It's like we're driving down a road of life and the window sill is foggy. But we're so used to the fog, we think it's it. And we're just sitting driving complaining like, I can never see nothing. I'm bumping into stuff. I'm leaning off the road. Man, this life just sucks. But what happens when you truly face yourself and you ask yourself the tough questions, what happens is you gain clarity. And the window sill starts to get clear. And now you could see life. You could see life clearly, and you could see where you're going. And you could see things around you that you didn't even notice before. You start becoming more aware. And you start to realize life is more than just what you thought it was. And in those alone times, I started to feel and realize life was more than what I thought it would be. It reminds me of a story that I heard from Steve Jobs, where he said he helped an older guy up the street where he used to live. I think he was mowing his lawn, but he wanted to show him something. And he took these ugly, dirty rocks, these regular stones that was from the dirt, and he put it in a grinder. And he said, come back the next day. And what the thing is, those ugly rocks would grind against each other. And they would make noise. It was loud. It was tough. It was, it was just very loud and very frictions and causing a lot of tension. But Steve Jobs came back the next day, and shout out to Greg, because Greg's actually the one that told me the story, Greg Woolley. And he said he came back the next day, and all those stones that were ugly stones before were these beautiful polished rocks. Were these beautiful polished rocks, after being hit and grinded and pressured and put it through the ringer, they came out beautiful. And so the shift that happened to me is I had to face my demons, and it was rough. I had to ask myself the tough questions. I'm like, Rich, why are you so angry all the time? And of course you get defensive, like, bro, I'm not angry. Why you call me angry? I ain't mad. Why you say I'm mad? Well, I ain't angry. Bro, you're angry right now. And then I'm like, wow, you know what? I am. I'm always upset. And it was stuff that happened in my past that I didn't want to relive. I put it in the back of my mind, and I never wanted to touch it again. But I was forced to touch it. The reason I was angry is because I knew I wasn't doing the things I was supposed to do. I wasn't fulfilling the promises that I told myself as a kid that I was going to fulfill. I told myself, Rich, I want to be a writer. I want to be an author one day. And I wasn't doing that. I wanted to do and help people. I wanted to do something grand. And I wasn't doing none of that. All I was doing was hanging out, chilling. And I realized that I wasn't doing the right things. I was angry all the time because I thought life wasn't fair. I was being a victim. Again, I wasn't clear. But as I realized, Rich, you're doing it. Nobody's doing it to you. Is you didn't educate yourself. You don't know anything about money. I'm always broke. Man, why I'm always broke? What do you know about money? Have you talked to a banker once? Have you talked to an investor? Have you reached out to somebody that's wealthy and say, man, how do you become better? No. I didn't do any of that. All I did was sit down and wallow in my own self-pity. And I used to realize, man, you know, I used to treat women terribly. And I asked myself, like, would you want a guy to treat your sister like that? I'm like, no. Your mother? Hell no. Then why are you treating women like that? Because one girl hurt me at 14 years old, and I never got over it. At 14, I was 26, 27, and at 14 years old, one thing happened in my life I couldn't get over, and I let it steamroll everything past that. So I was with a relationship, bad relationships, blaming the other girl, like, oh, it was her fault. Even though I was the one being the a-hole, I knew I was the one being the bad one. And I had to face those demons and say, Rich, it's you. It's you. There's nobody doing it to you. You're the one doing it. You're the one not putting in the work. You're the one not putting in the efforts. You're the one not educating yourself. You're the one not letting go. You're the one staying frustrated and holding on to these petty things that you can just let go. And I finally had to get to a point where I dated myself. I was alone, so I used to watch movies. I used to write down in journals. I started to get to know me. And as I got to know me, I realized I was the problem. And as I realized I was the problem, I knew only I could fix it. And as I knew I could fix it, I started to fix those problems. I started to fix myself. That's why I got into self-development. I started to develop myself. And as I started to develop myself, I gained clarity. I'll leave you with this. If you go to the Giza Strip in Egypt, those grand pyramids, the grand pyramids that nobody could still figure out how it was built. On the top of those pyramids, it says only one thing in hieroglyphics, which is know thyself. So, of all the laws, of all the things that could have said, all right, we're going to leave this to the test of time forever. This is going to stay on this piece of, on the eighth wonders of the world. It's going to stay on here forever. What do we want to leave a message to the world? And that message was to the world was, know thyself. And as I start to get to know me through my own quarantine, which was forced, sometimes life forces it onto us, but it's a good thing to reflect. And as I was forced into that quarantine, I started to know myself. And as I know to know myself, I knew where I can go. And as I started to realize where I can go, I started going towards it. And then that's when things started to manifest in my life. But it happened after being alone. Don't be afraid to be alone. And ask yourself the tough questions. And really look in yourself in the mirror and say, am I the person? Would I follow me? If there was a war tomorrow, would I follow me? Would I hang out with me? I didn't want to hang out with myself because I was not a good person. I was annoying. I was a complainer. I complained all the time. I was a Debbie Downer. I didn't even like hanging out with me. So I'm like, why would anyone want to hang out with me? As I became better, I started become better in my life. But it only took for me to get to know me. So I say take this time to date yourself. Take any time to date yourself. Figure out who you are. Figure out what you like, what you truly like. Not what other people think is good for you, but what's in your heart to do. What promises, what is deep in your subconscious mind that you promised yourself that you were going to do and accomplish that you kept procrastinating. Really date yourself. Really get to know you. And as you start to get to know you, you start to love you. You start to become the person. You're like, yeah, I like that person. I like that person. And as you start to like that person, you start doing more for that person than you'll ever thought you'll do beforehand. Why? Because you love you enough to make sure you don't procrastinate. You make sure you don't drop your dreams. You make sure you go the extra mile. You make sure you educate yourself. You make sure you invest in you. And as I started doing those things and getting to know me, oh, Miriam says she's writing poetry. Also, maybe there's a poem book in you. But regardless, as you get to know you, you know what you really want. You know what your talents really are. And that's when you can start in a trajectory of your true success, the success that was promised to you before you hit this planet, that we all deny ourselves because we just don't know ourselves. Take this time to get to know you, who you really are, the demons. Get to know those demons intimately and say, you know what? Maybe I'm not the best person. Maybe I am an asshole. Maybe I am a jerk. Maybe I am unethical. Maybe I haven't put in times in the words I needed to. Maybe I just haven't. I'm not a good person, and I had to realize that for myself. Once I realized I wasn't a good person, I did everything I possibly could to be a better person. That I could look in the mirror and say, you know what? I like you. I like you. And until you could do that, I don't think success really follows. True success. Until you could truly look yourself in the eye in the mirror and say, you know what, man? I like what I see. I really do. This was definitely an intimate moment of Facebook Live. I'm airing it out because I know it will help some people. Because that's what helped me, is just my solitude helped me get to know me. And that's why I'm here live doing things to help others. Again, this is Rich Fontaine. Hey, Maribel, thank you. Thank you for giving us this motivational every day. Thank you very much. God bless you. I appreciate you taking your time. Vinod, I appreciate you taking your time to watch this. And please rewatch this because I think there's so many deep gems in here that we can't. Motivation is on the surface. We need to go below the surface and deep to understand who we really are, to produce and manifest all the things we want. Again, this is Rich Fontaine. You could agree with me or not agree with me, but either way I feel, this was a successful conversation. Love is love. Have a blessed day. Namaste.